Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan, and this is the top 12 most powerful characters in He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Intended to be a successful toy line by Mattel, few could have guessed the raging popularity of He-Man in the times to come. Ever since the launch of the toy line and the subsequent 1983 TV show, He-Man became a very successful franchise.
How well you can use that power.
The characters became part of pop culture. 3 more animated series, a feature film, and several comic books later, they still hold the same relevance today. The characters portrayed in He-Man and the Masters of the Universe are diverse, each having a special skill set. In this video, we will take you through some of the most powerful and dangerous characters of the franchise, and elaborate on their backstories.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
And I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe.
He-Man. Speaking of the most powerful characters, we must begin our journey with the strongest among them all. He-Man, the titular protagonist and loved superhero, is probably the only reason why Skeletor could not take over the planet of Eternia. He starts off as a young prince named Adam, but the powers bestowed upon him by a sorceress gave him superhuman strength. He would simply transform into He-Man by holding his magic sword up and chanting,
"By the power of Grayskull."
He is referred to as the most powerful man in the universe, and his antics justify the hype around him. We have seen him punch through metal, pick up mountains, and even lift Castle Grayskull to relocate it into another dimension. He is also blessed with superhuman speed and agility, and his durable body can withstand explosions easily. His indestructible sword is a key source of his incredible powers, and he is rightly called the real master of the universe.
Keep your fangs to yourself, Beastman.
In the mini-comics version, He-Man has been shown as a barbarian from the Eternian tribe. The planet had been wrecked by many great wars. He-Man comes by some special weapons from an earlier incarnation of the Sorceress of Castle Grayskull. He defends the secrets of Castle Grayskull from the evil Skeletor. In the popular cartoon version, we see He-Man as Prince Adam of Eternia, the son of King Randor. The Sorceress of Castle Grayskull grants him special powers that transform him into He-Man, alongside his cowardly pet tiger, who is transformed into a vicious beast. The source of his incredible powers lies inside the castle, with the Sorceress as He-Man tries to keep his special identity a secret for the safety of his family. Another cartoon series titled The New Adventures of He-Man echoed the storyline of the mini-comics. However, the live-action films deviated a lot farther, tampering its structure. For instance, there was no mention of his secret identity, and we even saw him using a gun in some scenes. In the 2002 TV series, much of the original plot was retained, but it did add a lot of detail to the backstory of our protagonist. We learned that he is a descendant of King Grayskull, who is a powerful barbarian hero and saved Eternia from the evil Horde. His magical sword channels his ancestors' powers. However, in all these depictions, the one thing that remains common is He-Man's incredible strength that makes him the most powerful character of the franchise.
Skeletor.
Skeletor. If He-Man is the flag-bearer of goodness, Skeletor is his antithesis and the main antagonist of the franchise. However, his powers are no less than He-Man, making him a tough opponent for the superhero. Skeletor wanted to gain access to the secrets of Castle Grayskull, to become the master of the universe, while He-Man is all that stands between him and his goals.
Prove that Skeletor is clever. Sweep He-Man inside you and hold him forever!
The mini-comics had a rather simple storyline for this iconic villain. He was supposedly an inhabitant of a different dimension, who somehow lands up in Eternia through a multi-dimensional portal. Initially, He simply wanted to return to his home world. But this time, his lust for power grew, and he wanted to seize control of Castle Grayskull. There was a significant change in the later mini-comics, where it was hinted that he was Keldor, the long-lost brother of King Randor. But he seemed to be careful so as to keep this a secret. According to DC Comics, Skeletor possesses one half of the Power Sword, and was trying to find the other half to unlock supreme powers.
I'll show you trouble, Sorceress!
In the popular animated series, released in 1983, Skeletor is shown as a demon from another dimension, and this cruel Dark Lord commanded an evil army. His mysterious past has possible links with the evil Horde, suggesting that Skeletor was left behind after his invasion of Eternia. As revenge for his abandonment, Skeletor gave up his secret location and slowly set himself up on the Snake Mountain, assembling his own army. He-Man was, of course, his arch-rival, and he hatched numerous plans to get rid of his opponent.
Leaving so soon?
Let go of me, flesh face, or I...
As for the film version, the only thing we loved about the narrative was the depth of darkness and gravity of Skeletor's character. He was way more powerful and even managed to capture the Sorceress of Castle Grayskull. When the franchise was revived in 2002, the narrative where Skeletor could be Keldor was once again explored. He trained under Hordak, and his face was reduced to a skeleton on being doused in acid during an attack on Randor.
What bait?
Well, it seems rather fond of you.
This was further explored in the 2012 DC Comics, where we learned that Skeletor was initially supposed to be the heir to the throne of Eternia. However, King Miro decided to make his brother Randor the king because Keldor was a half-blood. This made him grow bitter and resentful, and eventually he became the evil Skeletor that we know today. While all of his backstories are fascinating, his powers are no less amazing.
Silence, you furry fool! I've had it with your whining and bumbling.
In some animated versions, Skeletor is seen more as a comical villain, but his true evil nature was well captured in the live-action movie. It is no surprise that he is our all-time favorite antagonist.
Greetings, Princess. Hordak! Skeletor!
Hordak. To mentor one of the most evil characters of the franchise, you first have to harness just as much malevolent power yourself. Hordak, the leader of the evil Horde, is in every way a capable leader, under whom Skeletor trains in his early days. The evil Horde is a deadly army of savage warriors, and Hordak leads them to various conquests. In the early comics series, Hordak was shown to have returned, seeking revenge on Skeletor, who had betrayed him. However, they did have a common enemy, He-Man, and the common goal of seizing Castle Grayskull. Hordak has been described as a sorcerer, who used a combination of technology and magic to conquer Eternia. He was the main antagonist in the 1985 She-Ra, Princess of Power. Hordak could transform his body into various weapons to suit his needs.
Stunners inoperative. Rebel forces have entered the castle.
This is where we find out that Skeletor was left behind during an attack led by Hordak, and how an angry Skeletor revealed Hordak's secret base. He also finds mention in the 2002 series, where he is showcased as a dark warlord from Eternia. The original ruler of Castle Grayskull, King Grayskull and Hordak wage a war. However, he was banished, along with the rest of his entire army, into a dark dimension. Later, he saves Keldor's life and renames him Skeletor. There have been other stories surrounding this character, but he is an absolute badass in all of them. He is usually depicted to have a grotesque white face, with red eyes and a snout-like nose. He has vampire-like fangs, and his ears are pointed, resembling that of a bat's.
Greetings, Princess.
He is adorned with a collar of bones, with black armor covering his chest that has a bat symbol on it. She-Ra, the twin sister of He-Man, is his foremost enemy, but the ruler of Eternia has also been seen engaged in conflicts with He-Man. Hordak could also provide useful insight into the true evil nature of Skeletor, and was quite an intriguing character.
Welcome to my castle.
Shogora. Shogora might have had a brief appearance in the franchise, but it sure as hell was a memorable one. We witnessed one of the worst baddies in He-Man and the Masters of the Universe that could overpower even Skeletor.
I call upon the Shogora. Come now and join our forces.
Shogora was basically a demon from another dimension that Skeletor initially planned on using to defeat He-Man. However, things did not go as planned. Shogora proved to be a bit too powerful to be controlled or manipulated, while Skeletor couldn't banish him to his own world either. In fact, Shogora now had his own plans, and wanted to rule over Eternia. He imprisoned Skeletor, the very man who brought him into this universe, as well as other notable antagonists, like Trapjaw and Evil-Lyn. Even Whiplash was wounded, but he managed to head back to the royal palace to inform He-Man and the other warriors about the threat. They realized that this demonic threat from another dimension was a serious one, and immediately headed to the Snake Mountains. Shogora, in the meantime, was trying to drain the powers of his captives, and if he were successful, he would become even more powerful. When He-Man and the others reached Shogora, he had already teleported away, leaving behind his summoned servants to fight on his behalf. He even managed to overpower the Sorceress after breaking into Castle Grayskull, and transformed the Sorceress into a strange creature. He commanded this transformed beast to attack the evil warriors and the heroic ones alike, and for once, good and evil were fighting together against a greater evil. Shogora was trying to create a portal that would pull the entire planet Eternia into his home dimension. If he managed to do so, it would be irreversible. Eventually, Evil-Lyn managed to break the spell cast on the Sorceress, and combined her powers with Skeletor and the Sorceress to put Shogora back in his own dimension. This gigantic tentacle-wielding blob-like creature was way too powerful, but unfortunately, it never became a recurring character. She-Ra. We have mostly seen her as the adorable protagonist of She-Ra and the Princess of Power, but she is also quite powerful. She-Ra, or Adora, is the twin sister of He-Man. She was raised by the sorceress Shadow Weaver, and was trained to be a member of the Horde. She was climbing her way into the ranks, and was soon set to become a force captain. However, at this crucial juncture, a few members of the rebellion captured her. She was initially hostile, but with time, she learned that she was living in an illusion all these years. She-Ra possesses the Sword of Protection that transforms her into the Princess of Power, just like He-Man transforms with his magic sword. The origin stories vary considerably. One of them suggests that she did not originally hail from Etheria. She was actually a member of the First Ones, one of the most ancient races, and was brought to Etheria through a portal. When the series began, the creators said that they intended for her to be around 17 to 18 years old, and was quite a pleasant character. Her long, beautiful blonde hair was usually tied back in a ponytail, and her athletic build was testimony of her strength.
My goodness!
Even with her shifted allegiance, she never changed out of her Horde uniform. As She-Ra, she grew considerably taller, and is often seen in a gorgeous white dress. This noble warrior is true to her values, and fought for the wrong side only because she was misled. She is freakishly strong and heroic as perceived in her fight against the evil Horde.
Let's cool him off.
She-Ra also has remarkable healing powers, and her leadership skills made her a capable co-leader in the rebellion of Etheria. This character was an attempt by the makers to include young girls in the franchise viewership, just like He-Man appealed to boys, and turned out to be quite a successful idea.
My throne. I, King Hiss, the true ruler of Eternia.
King Hiss. This character featured in the Mattel toy line, but wasn't seen in the original animated series. It was only during the 2002 revamped version of the animated series that we actually got to see King Hiss. As his name suggests, there's a clear connection to a reptilian side of his character. He has a humanoid form, but can also shed his skin to become a writhing mass of serpents. If we go by the original mini-comics that came with the toys, King Hiss was the ruler of an ancient race of conquerors that looked like humanoid snakes. On the planet Eternia, King Hiss and his men were engaged in battle to conquer the planet. Nevertheless, the magical powers of the planet's elders foiled their plans. They get trapped in a limbo-like dimension, where they stop aging and exist in a comatose state. Several hundred years later, his right-hand man, General Rattler, manages to free him.
But not by your hand.
Who dares to sit upon my...
We know the Snake Mountains to be Skeletor's base, but it used to be King Hiss's headquarters once upon a time. The two deadly villains form an unlikely alliance for the common cause, to conquer Eternia and destroy its protector, He-Man. They also conspired to obliterate one another once their primary objective was fulfilled. The 2002 cartoon version projected him as a power-hungry tyrannical leader who was ruthless towards his enemies. However, unlike Skeletor, he did not abuse and disrespect his minions. This inspired fierce loyalty amongst his men, adding to his strength as a powerful army. King Hiss had some mysterious magical powers that were no less than the likes of Skeletor or Hordak. The Sorceress of Castle Grayskull reveals that King Hiss's magic is as ancient as that of the Elders. His special ability was to transform into his snake form at will. He had a remarkably hypnotic ability in his snake form, capable of stunning the likes of even He-Man. Evil-Lyn. She is the only female member of the Evil Warriors, serving as the second in command to Skeletor. She was a powerful witch and way smarter than many of Skeletor's minions. Evil-Lyn was not at par with Skeleton, but being an opportunist, she would not hesitate to take over her master's powers. She is ambitious and wishes to rule all of Eternia one day. Her powers of darkness come in handy several times. Skeletor commands her, but there are a few times when she acts independently as well. We have usually seen her with a magic wand that is crowned with a crystal ball. However, she doesn't need an external instrument to generate her magic. She hails from a wild underground city called Tundaria in Eternia. Her parents are powerful forces in the world of sorcery and magic. Her father is the renowned sorcerer, the Faceless One, and doesn't approve of his daughter working for the wicked forces. He wishes that she would reflect on her choices one day and change her course of action. Although Evil-Lyn turns to the evil side, she still feels some bonding with her father. In the cartoon shows, we loved this fearless character despite the side that she fought for. She was in charge when Skeletor left the Snake Mountain, and her mannerisms reflected her evil wit. While the cartoon version focused more on her magical powers than her fighting skills, she could use her magical disguise to misguide her opponents.
You two are not worth bothering about. To Grayskull!
In one of the episodes, she even confesses that she served Skeletor, only to usurp his powers one day, and wasn't trustworthy. Her character does undergo a sea of change towards the end of the series, when she moves away from the immoral.
Has been loyal to you from the first moment we met. Surely you remember.
In the live-action movie, the role of Evil-Lyn is played by Meg Foster, who is a seductress calming Skeletor in his moments of hysteria. There is also a hint of a romantic relationship between the two. However, when Skeletor absorbs the powers of the universe and does not share it with her, she deserts him. This was certainly an intriguing female character that played through the shades of black and white. The Sorceress. The Sorceress of Castle Grayskull is one of the principal figures in the franchise, guarding the secrets of the castle. Technically speaking, she is the all-powerful deity of the storyline. Her character is played by various people throughout the years. She is the pool of all magical powers, but there is a catch. All of her powers are restricted to the confines of the castle. She is powerless outside its premises. She transforms into a falcon to telepathically communicate with her trusted associates when crisis arises, and has been seen contacting He-Man from afar.
Hurry, Adam, hurry! Grayskull is in great danger, as is Orko!
The Sorceress made He-Man the powerful hero that he is. She also provided the Sword of Protection to Princess Adora, and became the source of her powers. The Sorceress is beyond the petty battles between good and evil, but is always reliable as a trusted advisor and mentor to the good folks. When King Grayskull ruled over Eternia, his wife Queen Vina became the Sorceress of Grayskull. In the earlier stories of Masters of the Universe, a similar entity was referred to as the Goddess, while Queen Vina worshipped this entity. She is truly selfless and demands no acknowledgement of her help. She simply resides within Castle Grayskull and watches over Eternia while practicing her magic. She can also foresee the future and possesses complete knowledge of the past.
You shall be transformed into a great warrior, He-Man, guardian of the secret of Castle Grayskull.
Instances exhibiting her teleportation skills have also been shown. While her appearance changes in various narratives, the powers remained more or less the same.
You cannot fight the darkness, He-Man!
Shokoti. This wicked sorceress is often hailed as the mistress of darkness and fear because of her ability to use it against her enemies. She holds a horned headdress, and her pale bluish skin and lifeless eyes give off an unwelcome vibe. Her look is completed with a red cape. This was one of the most popular action figures of the 2013 Club Edition of the Masters of the Universe Classics toy line. She belonged to a blue-skinned humanoid species called Gar, but her family background is unknown.
Ghost? I am Shokoti. This is mine.
Shokoti was trapped inside the pyramid to hold in her evil sorcery. One of her minions, named Mask, however, managed to raise her from the desert sands. While Stanlin, the royal archaeologist's assistant, was exploring the pyramid, Shokoti used him to lure in He-Man, Ram-Man, and Battle-Cat into a trap. They came searching for him, but Shokoti uses her supernatural powers to create an illusion.
He discovered my illusion. Who are they, boy?
In fact, they were on the verge of being sacrificed to the sleeping beast once it woke up. The sorceress came to the rescue, and Stanlin finally overcame his fears. He used the Power Sword and managed to save the three of them. Eventually, He-Man defeats the sleeping beast, and Shokoti vanishes in a flash of light. Moss Man. As the name suggests, Moss Man is a man made of moss. He can camouflage into foliage. He also controls all forms of plants and vegetation on the evergreen forest. Moss Man lives in harmony with nature in this mythical paradise, and has very minimal role in the cartoon series. We see him as a mere spy who observes the enemy secretly in the disguise of a plant. However, he is quite a heroic character, and has rescued people in danger several times by communicating with the plants.
Talk like this?
The action figure that was released was basically a repainted Beastman figure that was covered with fuzzy moss. In the 2002 relaunch of this series, he was surveyed in more details, and was depicted as one of the most powerful entities of Eternia. He is more of an urban legend, with occasional hints that his powers could be even greater than He-Man's. Mossman is a kind spirit, who keeps his Eternian forests in order. His goal is to stop his nemesis, Evil Seed, who wants the plant world to take over the human world.
Wrong again.
He has helped He-Man a few times, and in one of the episodes, we even witness him saving the Masters from one of Skeletor's strongest traps. His appearances are relatively sparse, and we feel that this character could have developed better. Initially, he was supposed to be the heroic counterpoint of Stinktor, but things didn't work out because the latter was never a part of the original series.
You speak pompous words, yet you haven't the...
Zodac. This could have been one of the most complex characters of the franchise if explored correctly. Zodac would simply be the neutral bystander in the battle between good and evil. However, this was a complicated concept to be put together in a show meant for children. In 2002, when the character was redesigned, he was made into a black man to add racial diversity. Zodac is one of the earliest characters conceived by Mattel, and his early action figures came with the catchline, "Evil Cosmic Enforcer." He is shown as human, but has claw-like feet. and a standard trait of the line's evil characters. The card that comes with the toy states that he would attack the heroic forces, but it was quite an ambiguous description.
By the elders!
Later, DC Comics features him as a neutral character, who simply tries to maintain balance between the two sides. He is more of an observer of the universe, and knows Prince Adam's secret identity as He-Man. In the animated series by Filmation, Zodac is seen in only 3 episodes, and the character clearly leans toward the side of good. He has no scenes with Skeletor, or even shown in collaboration with any of the evil forces. According to the series Bible, Zodac is a member of the Council of Elders, and their leader. He kept a watch over Eternia, and he never interfered in the natural courses of events. This muscular, silent observer of the universe happens to be one of the first characters of the franchise to ever wield a gun.
Our plan is working better than we thought. My plan, Furface. Don't you forget it. Is it
Beastman. Another notorious supervillain of the franchise, the Beastman controls wild beasts. He is Skeletor's right-hand man, and his freakish strength makes him a formidable enemy. When Mattel was creating the characters for Masters of the Universe in the early 1980s, Beastman was among the first 7 that they thought of. The action figure was released pretty early, and the mini-comics show him as Skeletor's closest and most loyal ally. His ability to summon and control wild beasts plays in Skeletor's favor in some of the missions. The cartoon portrayal is in line with that of the mini-comic series, with slight changes. For instance, despite being loyal to Skeletor, he detested being bossed around by him and hoped to overthrow him one day. In one of the episodes, he is even thrown out of Skeletor's crew for the same.
Don't let me see your mangy hide around here again.
Without the Snake Mountain backing him, he felt powerless. He planned to kidnap King Randor, and partly succeeded before He-Man rescued him. He returns to being one of Skeletor's minions, and in the later episodes has no more than a comical character.
You there, Bushtail! Bring me down that fruit and make it snappy!
While he can control almost all animals, Panther, Battlecat, and Cringer are immune to his powers. We don't get to know much about his background, but it is revealed that he was human from Earth, and abused animals all the time. He worked as a technician on a spacecraft, and crash-landed on Eternia, before becoming Skeletor's minion.
I don't know. It's kind of nice to be home.
The live-action movie made a few changes to this character. We see him growling instead of speaking. He could use high-tech weapons, and follow the orders meticulously. However, the film does not explore his ability to control animals at all, which was a bit of a letdown. The 2002 relaunch of the series saw him become a much larger creature with a hunched back. However, his background does go amiss this time as well.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.